I would like to invite Mohammed Sofi, who is a consultant with Frost & Sullivan based in KL, and he's going to talk about the global halal addressable market perspective. So please join me in welcoming Mohammed Sofi. Come, Mohammed, Sofi.
Thank you, Manoj. Welcome, everyone. So everybody loves a story about a traveler who takes the road less traveled off the beaten path, because the story is about how we can change. Because the journey doesn't change just us, but it's changed people around us as well. So that experience, what I've been going through with my colleagues, because the thing is, last year we went to Batang Kali, which is the north part of Serinda, just above next to Rawang. So the thing is, they have a lot of natural resources, natural waterfalls. And what happens is, beautiful place, you should visit there. Most of the population there are Malays, that's Muslims, but the businesses are largely Chinese. So it's lunchtime, we're a bit hungry, we saw a restaurant, so we just charged towards it. And true enough, it's run by this Chinese lady, but we have no choice. So we walked in and we asked the lady, "Auntie, is there anything that we can order that is halal for lunch today?" And the auntie responded, "Of course. I serve everything without pork, without alcohol." But that doesn't mean it's halal, right? And she just looked at me and says, "It can be. Why not? It's a vegetarian shop anyway." So the thing is, that's when we got our moment of epiphany. God is great. Everything that he created in this world is permissible with only exception of a few. So the universal truth is, every product, every good and services is and should be deemed halal until it's proven otherwise. So with this thinking, we believe that if it's possible, it must be halalable. So halalable is what can be Sharia compliant. It has the potential to be so, provided it doesn't have ingredients that is not allowed. So with this kind of thinking, we go back to the office next day and we do some number crunching for months. We talk to industry players, we do our analysis, we do our validation. And what we found is that there are numerous studies reported the halal economy to be about $4 trillion. And this actually represents halal certified economies. So it's a totally different thing. So we believe that what is addressable, what is halalable, should be much, much more, should be bigger than this. So we take the approach of international trade. We look from the global trade standpoint. In 2014, it was about $47.9 trillion. And what we found is that less than $1 trillion is what is not permissible, comprised of alcohol, pot-based products, escort services, as well as gambling. So when we exclude all those, what we found is that what is addressable, what is halalable, stands about $47.1 trillion. And to the uninitiated, this is 12 zeros, by the way. It's a huge market. So what this means, Sophie, what exactly does it mean? It means that the saturation of the halal goods and services is still low. So what makes the halal economy today? There are three underlying trends. The first is that there's significant dependence on certification scheme. Much of the success of the halal economy is, we owe it to the certification process. The government conducts their due diligence, it makes the product safe, it builds the consumer trust. But however, the provision of certification often comes from only one channel. And to many Islamic countries, this channel is controlled by the state. So given that the backdrop of the economic climate, the declining revenue of governments, the need for increasing social spending, so how can we assure that these resources allocated to certification or monitoring agencies are not being affected? And second, we have seen that there are universal opportunity. Countries like the UK, Luxembourg, South Africa, for example, they has issued the Islamic bonds or sukuk between 2013 and 2014. While this is a testament to Islamic financial products and asset quality, but it's also screened to the world that, look, we have now acquired this know-how, how we can put together Islamic finance products. So this essentially challenged us. It challenged the status quo. investors no longer need to go to Islamic countries like Dubai or Malaysia in order to get this kind of services. They can go to Europe, for instance. But there is a silver lining. The fact that practitioners in those markets adopt this Islamic products is that means it accepts Islamic values. The underpinnings is what makes it halal in the first place. Which brings to the third point, which is there is a universal appeal. Yes, Muslims form the base of these consumers. 1 in every 4 people in the world is Muslims. But the fact is that major commitments toward halal economy is undertaken by non-Muslim countries. Brazil, for example, is the largest exporters of poultry to the Middle East, despite their samba, despite their football. And Japan wants to make their Olympic 2020 as the most Muslim-friendly ever. So we have to take that consideration in mind. We have to leverage on the interests that these countries have, which boils to one inevitable conclusion. We need to rediscover the global halal economy. Perhaps we can call it 2.0. And what is our ticket into leveraging this is that we need to propagate more training of halal professionals. The thing is, if we want to be disruptive, we need clarity in our vision, we need unity in our action. So this halal professionals is one that is equipped with both Sharia knowledge as well as having the business acumen. So when they have this best of both worlds combined, they can drive this halal market to the mainstream. They're no longer working on the fringe. When we can turn the tide over, essentially we can move away from certification-based to assurance-based. What this means is that companies that are producing products doesn't need to be certified every quarter, every half a year, for example. But once you have more halal professionals in place in every of these companies, halal assurance can be made to 24/7, 365 days a week. So that is better for consumers. And essentially what this made is that it lowers down the barrier for every businesses existing today to convert and become Sharia compliant. What does it mean to you? It means ready access to 47.1 trillion market. The consumers nowadays actually wants more than convenience. They want something they stand for. They ask like, are your products green? Do you acquire from sustainable producers, for example? And the thing is, halal ticks all these boxes well. So Frost & Sullivan, we are committed in making this change. We want to bring the best halal consulting. We want to bring the best of halal research. We are privileged to have the HDC to sponsor this session. And HDC, we are privileged that they have also endorsed the work that we have done. And the things, we also work with the likes of Halal International Selangor, the Sharia scholars, the industry veterans, and really making this change. So talk to us, because I'm running out of time. So please, ladies and gentlemen, if the conversation for halal certified market, just 4 trillion, please stand on this side. For halalable market, which we're talking about 47.1 trillion, please gather here. So that ends my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sophie. The next presentation is on Innovation Scanner, Track Disruptive Ideas. Delighted to have here with us Nabila Abu Bakar, who is an associate with Frost & Sullivan, based out of our Iskander Center of Innovation. So please join me in welcoming Nabila. Round of applause, guys.
Okay, let me start again. Hi everyone, my name is Nabila, and I'm very excited to be here. So I know we've been talking a lot about innovation today, but we haven't really delved deeper into how we track innovations. What are the stages we need to track the emerging technologies, the disruptive trends today? So let me walk you through how we can do that. Just to set some context, so 91% of CEOs today are concerned about competitors. 72% are concerned about relevancy, and 59% are concerned about disruptors. Now, disruptors meaning Uber and Airbnb. I bet a number of you today came to this event using Uber because you didn't want to deal with the traffic, especially in KL, downtown KL, and also when you go overseas, you would rather take Airbnb rather than going to a hotel. So how do we combat these challenges? Well, luckily for you, my presentation will illustrate how innovation can be used as a tool for growth. Now, let's look at these companies. So on the right side, you can see traditional big players such as IBM and HP. They've been declining year on year. Now, why? And let's look on their left side. We see newer companies such as Amazon, Google, Facebook, and Apple growing tremendously every year. For example, Facebook even grew 44% from 2014 to 2015. What are these companies doing? How have they been growing this much every year? Well, we can look at this through the S-curve. So the innovation S-curve shows that traditionally and conventionally, companies have been choosing the right time to innovate only when the points of returns are diminishing. Meaning they only wait at that time when the returns are declining to innovate. Now, this is not very effective because at this point, you might be too late. There might be other players out there who are already doing what you're doing, but better. So how are these companies such as Apple, Facebook doing to come out of this model? So what they've done is they implemented a newer model where they would continuously innovate throughout the S-curve. So for example, Apple is actually focusing on the business of innovation. If you think about it, they don't come up with new products. They actually take existing products in the market today and re-innovate them further. So as you can see from continuously innovating, Apple has been able to grow year on year. Another good company to illustrate the innovation is Tesla Motors. As you can see in the S-curve, Tesla is not actually waiting for the right time to innovate. They're continuously innovating in that S-curve. So you see they started off with electric sports car, but at the same time, they're already thinking about the affordable electric car. And on top of that, they're already thinking about the new product called Tesla Energy, where they're shifting away from cars and focusing towards houses and consumer products. So this is how Tesla was named the 2015 most innovative company in Forbes. Now, having said all that, what do we have for you? How can this innovation tracker be valuable for you and your company? We know that, I'm pretty sure that you all think that you have been innovating enough, but how do we know when is the right time, and how do we know we're innovating enough and that we're not missing out on anything? Well, Frost & Sullivan has implemented a filtering mechanism where we track disruptions and emerging technologies for you to pick up on. So let's look at the filtering mechanism. Firstly, stage one. We start off broad. We start off with 500 to 600 disruptions, innovations. So from there, in this stage, we look at the products, and we also look at time to market. Are these innovations in the market right now? Are they being commercialized? And after that, we filter more. So in the stage two, we filter out more to maybe 100 to 200 products. So at this stage, we look at strategic fit. Are these innovations, would this innovation fit your company? Would they fit your strategy, your overall long-term value proposition? And we also look at the product description. Are these trends or technologies innovative enough? Now we filter it further to stage three, where we implement a concept note. So at this point, we already have about 50 to 60 innovations that we have filtered through. So on stage three, we look at customer use cases. For example, we look at how different generations use these different innovations. For example, how would millennial use this innovation compared to baby boomers? So this would allow you to consider your target market and also the overall market. Even further, we go to stage four. So we implement a detailed business plan where we look at detailed analysis of the innovations. We also look at demographics profile. Which region do you want to implement your innovation? Which market do you want to enter? And lastly, we look at stage 5, proof of concept. So what's the point in incorporating these innovations if they won't be feasible, if they won't work in the market? So proof of concept, we look at how, what are the functions of the innovations? How do we roll out the pilot? What are the marketing strategies that we have to implement to notify the audience? So as you can see, it's a filtering mechanism at the end where we are able to launch your innovation strategy. Now, this is an example, a deeper dive into stage 1, opportunity identification. As you can see, stage 1 consists of 3 subsectors, 3 substages: scanning, evaluating, and shortlisting. I showed the step 1 because it's the foundation of the overall framework. It sets the whole tone of your scanning. So stage 1, we scan all possible technologies and trends out there. And then stage 2, we see if these innovations actually match your product portfolio or your service portfolio, your value proposition. And then stage 3, we actually shortlist these innovations and see how we look at the technology description. Now let me show you an example. So this, let's say we were tracking the media and entertainment industry. We have identified 4 trends or emerging technologies that would be relevant in the media and entertainment industry. First, we see drones, we see 4D printing, we see virtual reality, and we see holographics. These are all the innovations that are expected to or already are disrupting the media and entertainment industry. Whenever our clients see this slide, they're amazed because a lot of them have never actually heard of 4D printing. But we were able to identify that trend out there, even though it's not rolled out in the market yet. So on top of that, going back to my second slide where 59% of CEOs are concerned about disruptors, well, rather than going against these startups or disruptors, we should make peace with them, not war. We should leverage on these startups because they have the latest technology, they know what consumers are looking for. They also disrupt the market. So we can do that by entering into strategic M&A deals. You can see a lot of companies have acquired a lot of startups in order to expand into different markets and expand into and strengthen their position in certain markets. For example, Apple actually purchased a digital publishing company. Now, Apple is mostly known for, when you think of Apple, you think of the phones, you think of the iWatch. You don't really think of the newsstand, the app newsstand that they have. But Apple keeps innovating. They don't only focus on the core business, but also little aspects of the business. This is how Apple has been an innovator in the market today. Now, I just want to emphasize again on the 5-stage process that we do, the filtering mechanism. This is highly important because you need to innovate today to thrive in the market. You need to know how to track disruptive ideas. You need to make sure that you don't miss out on anything in the market. And this stage sets up a perfect example for you, a perfect framework for you to follow to filter out to the very best innovations that would impact your business. Now, let me just finish with a quote by Andrew Grove. He was the ex-CEO of Intel. He said that only the paranoid survive. That's a very strong quote and a very impactful quote because it means that you have to keep being paranoid in the market. You have to be on top of what's happening in the market. You have to be innovative enough. So you should be paranoid in the market today. And I'll invite you to a conversation to help you with your paranoia, and then we can talk about how we can help you sustain your worries in the market. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much, Nabila. So that's innovation tracking and monitoring to help stay on top of innovation and integrate it into your business. So up next, I would like to invite Ms. Adila Arantika Viranto, who is a consulting associate with Frost & Sullivan, and she will talk about research as a service. So please join me in welcoming Adila, please.
Thank you very much, Manoj. I hope everybody can hear me. Very happy to be here on a Thursday. Last speaker. I hope everybody is awake. Thank you very much for the question. I think it was very provoking. I think I've seen like a lot more open eyes right now. But what I'm going to talk about today is research as a service. Hopefully it's going to get more open eyes because this is very important. It's going to be the future of corporate intelligence. Let me start with this quote. In God we trust and all others must bring data. All others include my mother, your father, your spouse, your children, and most importantly, your business as well. So we look at the companies who spend a lot on research and development, and we see that these are the leaders in their industries. So we see big names like Samsung, Microsoft, Roche, Novartis, Johnson & Johnson. So you see these people are leading across industries, and there's one common denominator that they really care about data. They make data-informed decision-making. And what does it mean to your business? You would be able to be 6% more profitable and 5% more productive once you make data-informed decision-making. And 6%, 5% may seem small, but in this day and age, it could make the difference between the life and death of your business. But then again, many companies still rely on gut feeling. Research shows that 40% of business decisions are not made based on research. Over half of the companies say they do not have access to information. They do not have enterprise-wide research capabilities. And 82% say we just don't have the right people. We don't have the right talent. Looking deeper into it, it's happening across industries. Over 1/3 of companies say they have a moderate to major gap in talents to gather and use insights effectively. And the worst performers in this are healthcare, retail, and government. Perhaps less surprisingly, these industries also make up the most of our clients. These are the companies that have looked into themselves and say, hey, we do not have the capability to do research. And they have come to the expert and have benefited from it. So a lot of you would say, hey, Adila, we already have a research function. They're built in. And I say, yeah, that's good. You have corporate strategists. You have brand strategists. But the thing is, are they really talking to each other? Unity in action, is it there? And that's how research can be improved. When you have a dedicated team to do your research and making sure that every strategy in your company is shared and is done collectively, it becomes much more powerful. And not only that, in Frost, we actually went beyond that. We think, hey, let's make sure that research delivers real business outcomes. And this means taking care of your key account management up to knowledge management. Let me give you an example. Key account management. How many companies in this room have their salespeople studying about a client or a potential client before they meet them? In Frost & Sullivan, we look into this problem and say, hey, we can offer you this key account management framework, something that we have tested in companies all over the world. And we say that, let us identify out of these 1,000 or so companies that you should look into, who are the key accounts that you should be focusing your resources on. And we would give you key account intelligence. We are going to tell you what are their rivals doing. What are they thinking about? What are their pain points? And who in their industries you should be speaking to. And based on that, we give you a recommendation on planning. So we tested this concept on world's top 3 enterprise software provider. So they have this maybe similar problems that you guys have in this room. They have large customer base, very generic offering, and very high exposure risk. In this case, over 80% of their revenue is contributed by only 10% of their client. Imagine if any of these 10% clients leave their company. It would spell disaster. So we say, hey, let's do key account management. We're going to identify who are your key accounts. We're going to let you know the account-specific intelligence, and we're going to give you recommendations and help you plan ahead. And in the outcome, within just 1 year, we helped them generate over USD 27 million in new sales pipeline. Very proud of this. And that's just one example of how RAS, or Research as a Service, actually revolutionizes research, changes research. It covers almost all business functions, and it delivers real business outcome. It also transforms your business. It makes it smarter, makes it more agile, it makes it more robust. And it's not just for the big companies. It is scalable because all you need to do is just pick up the phone and say, hey Frost, I need you to do this research for me. We have the talent. We have the pool of people to do it for you. And it is very cost efficient because it's pay per use. You only pay for whatever you need from us. Now, if you think that, I can do it myself, well, in 5 years, you're going to be saying a different thing, because by 2020, at least 1/3 of the data will pass by cloud. We're going to have 50 billion connected devices all over the world. And what it means to companies is that research is just going to get more complicated. Big data will get bigger. And the data that you have, that you would be analyzing, that you will be researching, will be self-generated. And because of this complication, there would be a rise of hybrid RAS. It means that you may have the machine to crunch the data, but you also need a dedicated team of people who know what they're doing, who are comfortable with numbers, who are comfortable with large amount of data, and have an overview of not just your industries, but others as well, to help you move ahead. Now allow me to end my presentation with this quote. War is 90% information. And at Frost, me and my team would be very, very happy to talk to you after this on how we can help you in winning this war. Thank you.
Excellent.